Awesome, Megan. You have the floor.
Okay, I'm Megan from Georgia, and I'm going to be talking about the High Performance Healthy Schools program that we have in Georgia. Over the past year, we've done three events that have been really successful. The first one was last year, the beginning of last year. We did our High Performance Healthy Schools Summit, and we had approximately 200 attendees from all over the state of Georgia, and we offered different educational events to the schools in areas of water, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. So yeah, we had, like I said, we had 200 attendees from all over the state of Georgia, and I think 30 different schools were represented. And then the other program that we had, which most of you participated in, was Green Apple Day of Service, but we had over 1,000 participants from the state of Georgia and 30 schools that participated in a variety of projects. And then as we go into that program this year, we want to create a menu for the schools to kind of pick different projects so that they don't have to kind of come up with that information from scratch. So we want to kind of develop programs for them to be able to pick from and create a more successful Green Apple Day of Service. And then we're also hoping to, we had 30 schools participate last year, and we're hoping to double our participation this year. And then the final event that we had this year, which is 2 weeks ago, and we had a High Performance Healthy Schools Recognition Day. It was right across the street from the Capitol in Atlanta, and we had over 30 schools represented for 37 different awards at the awards ceremony, and then we also had the schools that weren't able to participate. We had additional awards, and we would go and present the awards to the schools in their area, but we had the big recognition day in Atlanta. The first one was on the snow day in Atlanta, so we had to postpone it. It was originally supposed to be in January, and it moved to the end of February, but it was still a really successful event. Being involved with USGBC for a long time, my kind of mark of a good event is based on the number of people that you have sign up and the number of people that show up, and I think we had over 90% participation on the people that signed up, and then additional members that came. We had over 180 people there, and I think I have a picture from that. It's kind of dark, but that's it. And we presented awards to the different schools, and then we also invited Georgia legislators to come, and 7% of one of the branches of government came to the event, and then we also made sure to mark the representatives that came and to follow up with them afterwards and to talk about the Healthy Schools programs that they can implement in their area, and representing the schools that have already implemented those programs, and to tell them how successful they are and that they can implement them in other areas. And I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Mark maybe wanted to talk for just 1 minute about some programs that we have for the High Performance Healthy Schools going forward in the next year.
Sure. Well, I'd like to look back first. You know, we're several years into the Green Schools. We're several years into the Green Schools initiative. We really came out of the gate with a big extravaganza with the summit. It was very expensive. By the time the second year came around, the path to it was littered with spent volunteers. So we realized that we were trying to move right to the harvest first without doing the cultivation step. So we're trying now to take advantage of our branch structure by going out into the branches and making, excuse me, direct personal connections with the various school systems. So we're taking it on the road now. So the recognition day really took the place of the summit. That may have a place 4, 5, 6 years down the road, but we've really got to set the stage first. So we're going to go out into school systems, we're going to make that direct personal connection with people that we know, and then build that interest, that commitment, and then hopefully leverage that into a statewide effect.
Thanks, Megan and Mark. Appreciate that. I want to say that I had the pleasure a year ago of facilitating Georgia's strategic planning process. I hope I helped a little bit, but it was great to meet a great group. But we were talking about strategy yesterday. what Georgia said is like, we are going to own this space. And you can tell from what Mark and Megan both said that it's a multi-year commitment, multiple strategies to get there. And they're making real inroads with the state capital and state agencies and legislators, schools, branches now owning this, and now branches are following up in there. That's how you take a strategy and really own it. They have plans for Healthy High Performance Georgia to go beyond schools, but they've said, you know what, first we're going to focus on schools, then we're going to focus on other, where we live and where we work as well. So it's about kudos to focus, because you can't do everything, and what they said, we're going to do this well, and then we're going to move on from there. So kudos to Georgia for a great program. Before we get into our breakout sessions, we're going to next talk about partnerships, and Linda's going to come back up and talk about an innovative partnership that the Arkansas chapter has with Habitat for Humanity. Linda.
Okay, so the Arkansas chapter with Habitat for Humanity of Washington County, Arkansas, which is the county that surrounds Fayetteville, Arkansas, in the northwest part of the state. It's where the University of Arkansas is. It's the hippie city in Arkansas. If there was one, that would be what it is. So this is a community full of grassroots volunteers. And so Habitat for Humanity there has always had a very strong program, a very successful program. And so we partnered with them to do a LEED certified house using a floor plan of the neighborhood, essentially a Habitat neighborhood that they had been in for a while, next door to a house they just completed that was Energy Star 3. And so it's the same floor plan, but so there's an Energy Star 3 next door to our new LEED for Homes that was just dedicated a week ago. First, that's going to offer us a nice case study on what the differences are, what you can do with volunteers. Their construction manager is very engaged with us and will help us with that. We did receive a grant from the USGBC, thank you, last year, an impact grant to make a documentary of the process. And so we had hired a videographer that has gone out from the time of groundbreaking through volunteer days, has done interviews with the homeowner, with the Habitat construction manager, and with our team, really to take that process. We'll put it together and we'll have a 30-minute documentary and then some PSA type clips from it that will help both Habitat and the USGBC's visibility in the area. We also expect to be able to use that in our advocacy programming. When you can go to a state legislature and say, look what we have done with affordable housing in Fayetteville, Arkansas, with Habitat, a well-recognized name. It's been a good win for us. The next thing we did was to offer a LEED for Homes half-day workshop. So much in Arkansas, as many of your chapters, is very focused on LEED for commercial projects, and this was an opportunity for us to be involved in residential. So we did a half-day free program and training on anyone that wanted to come and learn about LEED for Homes and the process. We had local instructors that each had experience in a LEED for Homes project. So that was great. The Habitat folks also sent their construction manager and several of their key volunteers to that. So we offered then education, advocacy, and it's just been a real win to engage volunteers. They could go do a work day, but they could also be on a project documentation team and donate their time. So the chapter expenses were very small in this. And so a lot of times you think, oh, this program is going to cost me $25,000 and I don't have that. But what we really did, we paid the LEED registration fee, and we paid some marketing expenses and then the documentary. So we will have about $30,000 in the project, but $15,000 of that was from the USGBC Impact Grant and the other was our matching funding. And so very nice for us. And so I wanted you to see, these are nice looking homes that they're building. They're small homes in the community. And there you see the sign. And originally this was going to be a bold connection. So when Shane is here, I first met Shane when he came in to get us started. That did not work out. but it really did say, Arkansas, you can do this and you can move along. So in so many areas of member engagement, community engagement, advocacy, marketing, all of the areas that affect our programming, this is a way to wrap all of that into one focused activity that was done in about 6 months. And this is one, it's one and done, and we can now take that and hope to replicate that with some other Habitat chapters. And the final thing I would say is we are surrounded, we had speakers from Make It Right New Orleans and Habitat New Orleans at our state conferences in the past. We had speakers from the St. Louis Habitat, where all of every project that's built with Habitat in St. Louis is a Lead for Home certified project. And so some of our members had heard about it and were ready to do it. So you can lay the groundwork even by bringing in a speaker for a conference before you really kick off your project.
Great, thanks, Linda. And thank you. So, Jeremy and Elizabeth are going to wrap up a little bit before we do breakouts, but I do want to say one thing while I have the mic, is that, again, across all these very different programs, there are common themes. We were talking yesterday about needing to change that value proposition in order to engage members that may have dropped off. What a great way to get engaged as a member to actually work on a Habitat project. New partners. New recognition from the press, from the government officials, and importantly, new ways to raise money. People want to fund stuff like this. And so again, the theme there is that this is allowing chapters to really meet that mission, diversify partnerships, membership, and again, support. So Elizabeth and Jeremy are going to wrap this up, and then we're going to break out into groups.
Yep. So I'm going to be super quick because y'all are going to see me in the breakout groups, but the 3 things I'm going to focus on in the breakout groups are partnership drives, membership retention, and programs and education. So my focus is going to be growth, and of course Jeremy's going to be advocacy. So one of the things we're going to talk about, I mentioned yesterday that the partnership campaign, the North Carolina model, we're going to give you templates. And so one of the things I just want to put on the table to be aware of is my 2 cents is the best time for this program is to happen is every fall. That you build your list who you're going to ask by the end of September, that you have October asks of existing and past sponsors, November asks of board lists, November reach out, and December asks of national member companies, November reach out, December asks local members, lead APs again December, January, and if you do have time to do local business journal lists, we can determine that schedule, but just so you know, this is a 12 to 16 week process to execute this. The brilliancy of doing it at the end of the year, just by the way, is 90% of charitable giving happens in that time frame. And so you want to take advantage of that. And also if you cross it over to January, you're getting people with the end of year budgets that have money left over and those planning for new year budgets. Okay. The other thing, we're going to talk about membership recruitment and retention, and every single chapter in this room should tomorrow email Emily, the ED of the Missouri Gateway chapter, and get this plan. It is simple, it is executable, it works fantastically well, and it has all the principles on it. So of course Emily's going to be like, thanks, Elizabeth. But instead of you all emailing her, what I'm going to work with John is, John and I will get with Emily and we'll provide it as part of the CERC resources, so I don't have Emily calling me saying I owe her a 6-pack of beer and some insomnia medication, because you all got her at once. But we're going to talk about that at the table. And then on programs and education, one of the things that I'm going to focus on at the table is from the CERC standpoint, how you're going to leverage so that you all share each other's programs in the virtual realm. And I actually have a special offer that I was thinking last night. I was like, what's the barrier? What's the barrier? And most of you do not have technology and campaign platforms to sell your webinars. So I'm just going to make an offer at the table if anyone wants to take it up. I have that platform for my business, so I will let you use it for free. And then my client relations manager says, we can do what we other do. We just take $5 off the back end or something to pay for the fees that we pay to do it, right? So, but it's, we use something called Webinar Jam. It's a fantastic software for running campaigns, as well as you can share your stuff with other chapters, and then you have a profit sharing agreement. It's a really, really smart system. It's called an evergreen system. You can even schedule it so it runs the webinars, makes offers, and encourages people to take the training on a scheduled basis. So if you have like a training that you want to offer every quarter, you put it in there, it automatically goes out, it'll email them, remind them, register them, and everything. That's the kind of stuff you can do. And so for those of you who have really high quality programs and you want to share, the other thing I encourage you to do, we do it on the for-profit side. When I have my other partners come to me and say they have a course, we split the proceeds 50-50. You can do that with your chapters. So you can say, North Carolina's got this great program, they give it to you, you sell the course, each of you get a 50-50 split. It's a win-win for both of you. And that model works brilliantly on the for-profit side, and there is no reason you guys can't do that within the chapter network and all get a win-win and make each other money on the really high-quality programs that really, quite frankly, you're sitting on a shelf and not leveraging to the degree you could, and really get out there as providing quality education to your marketplace. All right, with that, Jeremy. Oopsie, where's... All right, Jeremy's coming up. Oh, there he is, Advocacy Jeremy. All right, so Jeremy's going to just spend a few minutes talking about the advocacy and the stuff you're going to be able to work with him at the table, and then we're going to do our breakout.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
And let's see. So I'm going to pick a spot, I guess, that a comfortable spot in the room. It'll be a little bit far away because we're going to be laughing and having a lot more fun at the advocacy session. But most of what I wanted to share with you this morning that we'll talk in further depth about is the reality that this advocacy and policy process is a social science. How many engineers do we have in the room? Architects? Other people that find inanimate objects to be the vast majority of what you spend your time thinking about? Okay? Lawyers. All right, there we go. So this is a social science. It's about people. And there's a lot of things that we put up blinders in our worlds when we think about advocacy, and we think about politicians and elected officials who are spending their days in some sort of gilded seat behind a bunch of velvet curtains and big flags and big round daises and things like that. So you have this authority trap of sort of like a barrier to entry. It's a mental barrier for us. But the reality is these are people, and this is a people-to-people process. And so we'll be talking a little bit about how we can cut through some of that clutter and recognize that being human in this process is actually the simplest and easiest and yet sometimes most uncomfortable way to go. And there's just a couple of other ways that we can drill into that. But that's the majority of of the message that we haven't talked about yet this weekend for those of you who've been in the advocacy sessions relegated to the back of your room. We'll be up in the front room today. So we'll be talking about that, and of course any other questions that you have related to the conversations we've had or haven't had yet.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy. So what we're going to do, we're going to find, Jeremy, where's your comfortable spot in the room? We'll give you first pick. Okay, so if you're interested in talking about advocacy to start, Jeremy's going to be over there. If you want to talk about growth, Elizabeth, where do you want to be? So in the cooler area will be growth, and I'll take the folks who want to talk about community building, community programs over here. We're going to start with 10 minutes, right?
And then we're going to do just kind of a quick wrap up, and then we have a break.
Yeah, so and then we're going to talk about what we kind of learned and shared. So again, talking about how this is going to jumpstart ideas in your chapter. So advocacy, growth, which is programs membership, and then community building over here, okay?
We'll just catch the little wrap at the end and we should be good.